Jules Verne is often lauded as the prophet of the scientific age, a man who believed implicitly in the power of calculation and the precision of human engineering. Yet, hidden beneath the thrilling adventure of Journey to the Center of the Earth lies a profound and troubling warning. The tools we trust most, the ones engineered for ultimate accuracy, are the first to fail when confronted with the universe's true chaos. This is the compass paradox, that technology only serves us in the world we have already defined, and the minute we step outside that rigid framework, precision becomes the very measure of our delusion. Professor Otto Lidenbrock is the patron saint of this delusion. His expedition is not just a journey into the earth, it is a pilgrimage dedicated to the omnipotence of calculation and instruments. He surrounds himself with gear, believing that by quantifying every risk, by measuring time, temperature, and magnetic orientation, he can conquer the very concept of the unknown. His confidence is not in his resilience, but in the finely wrought brass and glass contained within his crates. The most precise instruments, those meant to be the unwavering extensions of Lidenbrock's intellect, prove to be the most useless. Let's begin with the thermometer, the device we designate as the first liar. Lidenbrock's geological theories relied on a linear, predictable increase in heat. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets, making life impossible. But what does the subterranean thermometer tell him? Lies. Its readings refuse to conform to his established model. The temperatures he encounters, while difficult, are survivable, a profound geological anomaly that renders his entire theoretical framework obsolete. The tool, designed to provide objective truth, only tells Lidenbrock that his science is wrong. The instrument, in its very precision, exposes the limits of the defined world from which it originated. Then there is the chronometer, which we dub the time cage. On the surface, the clock is king. It links us to the sun, defining navigation and routine. But deep underground, deprived of the sun's rhythm, the chronometer becomes functionally useless. It continues to tick with flawless, mechanical accuracy, yet the time it measures is meaningless. Days blur into weeks, and human time becomes irrelevant against the vast, stagnant epochs of geological time. The chronometer, the symbol of human mastery over time, traps Lidenbrock and Axel in an arbitrary cage of hours that hold no practical significance. Its precision is a cruel joke, mocking their fleeting human existence. And finally, the compass, the ultimate betrayal. This is the cornerstone of navigation, the one tool meant to maintain order and direction. Yet, the moment they descend deep enough, the subterranean magnetic fields reduce it to a chaotic, spinning joke. The needle, the symbol of unwavering truth, whirls wildly. The compass fails not because it is broken, but because it is too accurate for the environment. It attempts to convey the complex, erratic magnetic reality of the unknown world, which to the human mind, registers only as utter disorder. Lidenbrock's intellectual conquest collapses precisely because the instrument he trusts most has betrayed its intellectual promise. The profound irony is that these tools only function within a defined world, a world of known atmosphere, gravity, and magnetic stability. The very act of entering the unknown, the goal of the journey, invalidates every premise upon which the technology was built. Axel initially finds comfort in this technology. He trusts the tools as surrogates for his own courage. They represent the scientific leash that Lidenbrock maintains on the surrounding chaos. He believes the precise numbers will protect him. Conversely, Lidenbrock's ego is intrinsically tied to the precision of his instruments. Their flawless function is a constant affirmation of his own rigorous intelligence. When the tools fail, his rage is not scientific, it is personal. The failure of the instrument is the failure of his own absolute control. These instruments were meant to be the glorious symbols of human intellectual conquest over nature. Instead, they reveal themselves to be a physical burden that hinders true mobility. They are heavy, fragile, and demand constant attention, distracting the explorers from the real, sensory input that might actually save them. The first psychological crack occurs the moment Lidenbrock, the man who would die before questioning a numerical reading, realizes the instruments are lying. When the thermometer refuses to climb linearly, or when the compass needle refuses to settle, Lidenbrock must choose, accept the instrument's chaotic reality and admit his theory is flawed, or deny the technology and push forward based on pure, irrational will. In choosing the latter, he proves that technology, in the end, only serves as a temporary crutch until primal instinct must inevitably take over. This is the dark truth Verne exposes: the most precise tools are merely filters, obscuring the terrifying, chaotic truth of the unexplored world. As the explorers push past the superficial layers, the breakdown of precision accelerates, transforming the expedition from a methodical scientific venture into a desperate, sensory gamble. The readings from the instruments, once symbols of unwavering certainty, become increasingly chaotic and nonsensical. The thermometer spikes and plunges inexplicably, the barometer spins with impossible numbers, and the chronometer ticks on, measuring time that no longer corresponds to geological reality. The tools are no longer guides, they are noise, static, and a filter that obscures the truth of the unknown. This environment instantly highlights the need for a new kind of measurement: intuition over calibration. Lidenbrock, the product of calculation, finds himself utterly blind. He can no longer trust the numbers, the very language he uses to interpret the world. He requires a sensory, primal awareness, the kind inherently possessed by Hans Jelk, to distinguish between stable rock and treacherous ground. The contrast is sharp: the professor needs complex algebra to define the journey, Hans needs only the feel of the rock beneath his heel. The compass's failure is not merely a navigational inconvenience, it is a metaphor for moral and intellectual disorientation. The compass represents the fixed point, the North Star of truth and certainty. When it begins to spin wildly due to the erratic subterranean magnetic fields, it implies that the expedition has entered a realm where fundamental laws, the laws Lidenbrock dedicated his life to, no longer apply. This failure forces an intellectual vertigo, stripping away the certainty of their direction, both physical and philosophical. Lidenbrock's reaction to this technological betrayal is pure, unadulterated fury. His rage when technology, his intellectual extension, defies his control is the rage of a king betrayed by his most trusted general. He does not calmly hypothesize the magnetic anomaly, he bangs the instruments, he curses their manufacture, he denies the evidence. This visceral response confirms that his relationship with technology is not one of scientific partnership, but of totalitarian command. The instruments were supposed to obey his logic, and when they reveal a truth greater than his theory, they must be silenced or broken. This leads to the literal discarding of tools, symbolic of scientific methodology being physically abandoned. As the men struggle with the heat and the limited space, the heavy, fragile gear that once symbolized their preparedness becomes a liability. They abandon the precise instruments, not because they are broken, but because survival requires mobility, and mobility requires the rejection of the weight of defined methodology. The irony here is self-evident: the tools designed to prevent risk actually guarantee their blindness and hinder their progress. The ultimate contrast reveals the failure of priority: the precision of the chronometer is instantly rendered useless next to the primal need for water. The professor can tell you the exact time in Hamburg, but he cannot conjure a single drop of life-saving moisture. This existential crisis forces Lidenbrock to rely on Hans's instinctual observation for survival, an act of humiliation for the man who champions codified knowledge. Axel's dawning awareness is the emotional core of this phase. He experiences the fear of being guided by useless numbers, a fear that slowly dissolves his trust in his uncle's rationale. He begins to realize that the instruments are not protective shields, they are simply expensive lies. His growing sanity is directly proportional to the instrument's failure. This stage confirms a critical realization: Lidenbrock's geological knowledge failure was exposed first and most clearly by the thermometer. His theory of linear heat increase was immediately proven wrong by the chaotic, nonlinear reality of the Earth's core. The tool, in its accurate reading of the anomaly, exposed the fundamental flaw in the scientific hubris that launched the journey. Ultimately, this phase concludes that technology is a filter that obscures the truth of the unknown. The precise numbers gave Lidenbrock the illusion of understanding, which prevented him from developing the necessary sensory and intuitive skills required for true exploration. The breakdown of the compass, the chronometer, and the thermometer is not a setback, it is the necessary dismantling of Lidenbrock's intellectual tyranny, clearing the stage for the raw, human, and unpredictable forces of instinct and chaos. With the official instruments silenced or discarded, the narrative shifts from the science of measurement to the art of survival. This is the moment when primal orientation ascends, proving that true direction is an internal, sensory phenomenon, not an external, calculated one. The guide, Hans Bjelke, emerges not just as a silent employee, but as the anti-technology hero who relies solely on the primal orientation Lidenbrock has long suppressed. Hans's expertise operates entirely outside Lidenbrock's quantifiable framework. His methods rely on non-quantifiable data, reading the minute textures of the rock face to gauge stability, sensing air movement to predict pressure changes, and feeling the subtle flow of water. While Lidenbrock fumbles with his broken instruments, Hans is in perfect harmony with the environment, acting as an organic sensor that never lies. He is the ultimate living compass, proving that human capability, stripped of its mechanical crutches, far surpasses engineered precision. Axel's survival begins to depend not on the professor's charts, but on listening to his own body, his thirst, his exhaustion, his primal fear, which proves far more accurate than any mechanical reading. The acid-water crisis is the perfect example. His body screams danger, Lidenbrock's logic supplies justification, but it is Hans's primitive instinct that finds the path to the necessary, albeit risky, resource. Axel learns that his own physiology is the ultimate precision instrument. The crisis of the underground journey, Axel's separation from his companions, is ironically resolved through the very chaos the technology failed to manage. Axel's successful navigation relies entirely on sound echoes, a natural phenomenon that technology cannot distort or betray. It is the raw, untamed acoustics of the cavern, not a carefully calibrated instrument, that guides him back. Later, the perilous raft journey across the vast underground sea highlights the finality of the tool's failure. Navigation is accomplished not by the professor's calculations, but by the sheer force of the storm and chaotic currents. Lidenbrock's compass spins wildly, but the forces of nature provide an undeniable, if brutal, sense of direction. The journey's success hinges on a surrender to the unpredictable, on luck and natural power overriding intellectual control. The brief sight of the ancient magnetic light, which we can call the primitive sun, provides Axel with a momentary, natural, and honest guide. It's a contrast to the unreliable instruments, a reminder that the environment, however chaotic, offers a truth that engineered tools cannot match. This leads to the concept of useful failure. The instruments must break before true human capability can emerge. The silence of the dead chronometer allows Axel to finally hear his own fear. The spinning compass forces Lidenbrock to look to Hans. The reversal of authority is complete. Hans's silent instinct consistently proves the professor's precise, academic data wrong, humiliating the entire Enlightenment framework Lidenbrock represents. The ultimate rejection of the technological reliance comes during the ascent. The explorers are violently ejected by the magma flow, a force that Lidenbrock's science could not measure, predict, or control. The fiery, chaotic expulsion is nature's definitive statement on human hubris. The profound realization that emerges from this phase is that true direction is internal and intuitive, not external and calculated. The journey's goal was achieved not despite the technology's failure, but because of it, as the failure mandated the necessary return to primal, human truth. The irony of the compass paradox is solidified upon their return. Stepping out of the volcanic crater and into the defined world, the instruments instantly snap back into reliability. The compass points north, the chronometer measures time precisely, and the thermometer accurately gauges the surface temperature. The technology works perfectly again, but only because they are back in the predictable environment for which it was engineered. This instant functionality serves as the starkest evidence of the instrument's limitations. Yet, the scientific community ignores this profound lesson. They idealize Lidenbrock's journey, celebrating the results while entirely overlooking the methodological failure. The scientific hubris ensures that Lidenbrock is hailed as the conqueror who succeeded through calculation. This manufactured narrative necessitates Lidenbrock's hypocrisy. He delivers sanitized accounts, utterly refusing to acknowledge that the true cause of their success was the failure of his tools and the triumph of Hansa's primal instinct. He clings to the idea that the coordinates were found by his intellect, not by a chaotic, randomized, volcanic ejection. This concealment of the truth is essential for maintaining the delusion that technology is infallible. Verne issues a powerful ethical warning here: progress built on fragile tools is merely a temporary delusion. By relying entirely on external calculation, society risks becoming functionally blind when faced with true novelty or chaos. Technology creates a dangerous reliance that atrophies the innate human capabilities for adaptation, intuition, and survival. The true hero of the aftermath is Axel. He returns with a deep, private knowledge that his body, his fear, and his instincts are the best instruments of navigation. He has seen the limits of precision and understands the inherent flaw in his uncle's relentless belief in calculation. He is the one who grasps the profound philosophical critique, that the journey's purpose was not to discover what lay beneath the earth, but to reveal what lay beneath the technological shield of the modern man. The ultimate and lasting lesson is clear: human intuition and primal instinct are the true instruments of exploration. Technology is merely a comfortable servant for the known world. When faced with the unknown, we must discard the crutches of precision and trust the chaos, the sensory input, and the internal compass that Lidenbrock suppressed but was ultimately forced to obey. The journey to the center of the earth is not a celebration of the thermometer or the compass, it is a profound testament to the power that only emerged when those instruments were shattered. We have seen the exact moment when the precise tools of science proved useless against the chaos of the earth. The compass spun into a void, the chronometer lied, and the thermometer betrayed theory. But here, on the surface, we continue to measure our lives by the ticking of the clock and the fixed reading of the GPS. We ask you, are our precise devices masking our own profound ignorance of chaos? Are we sacrificing our survival instinct for the comfort of a number? If you agree that the destruction of the compass was the true start of the journey, share this critique. Subscribe to the Emotive Archive. We will continue to dissect the legends, forcing you to question the maps you trust and find the true direction within.